So the first thing that I want to do is I want to actually go ahead and edit this image. This is a great looking image. We're going to do a coffee shop, like a coupon for a coffee shop or something like that. And this is a great image to start off with. One thing that I like is that I picked an image that had a lot of negative space up top. So our focus is a little bit below the middle line. And then there's a lot of empty space up top that we can use, like say for the Pinterest graphic. This is a nice big image. So when we stick it into these artboards, we can resize it, and we don't have to use the whole image. We can use maybe half of the cup or just a square of this image. So you'll see how that works. But before we begin, let's go ahead and just do a little editing to it. And I'm not going to get too deep into this. You can take it as far as you want to. I'm going to click on the original photo layer, and that's under our original artboard. And let's go ahead and just apply a filter to it so you can see how this works. So go down to the layer adjustments button at the bottom, click on that, and we're going to do a very simple one called color lookup. We're going to click on that, and what this does is it actually gives us the ability to apply these pre-made looks and presets to our image that look great, and we don't have to do a whole lot of tweaking. So we'll go up to the top, and under the first option, click on that drop down, and you'll see we have different ones here. Bleach bypass, we click on that and it kind of bleaches out the image. We have crisp warm, which gives it a nice warm feel. We have, drop blues, so it gives it kind of the blue color. And then we have all these other different ones that we can do. So you can pick any of these that you want. I'm just going to go with the crisp warm for now. And what that does is it just warms up the image. So if we turn the visibility of that adjustment layer on and off inside of the document, you can see the difference. So here's the original, and then there's a crisp warm, and it just really makes the image pop. It looks like it's a little more saturated, and all of those reds and ambers and yellows definitely get pulled out in the image and looks good. If it's too much, you can go to the opacity inside of the layers panel and you can turn that down. So if we go to 0, you see the original, and then we can bump that up to whatever we like. So if 100% is a little too much, maybe we can go down to around 70% or so, and then we can turn that on and off to see how it looks. So I like that. It gives it a nice warm feel. Now, you could continue adding different adjustments to this if you would like to. You could add in levels, or you could add in curves, or whatever you wanted to do to make this image look really good, and using proper graphic design techniques to make the image pop a little more. I'm just going to go ahead and stop. I'm not going to worry about this too much. I want to go ahead and group these together so that when I move them into the other artboards, they stay together. Now, one thing I want to be aware of is that if I add anything underneath this color lookup adjustment layer here, it'll affect everything below it. And that might not be what we want. If we add in some, say, a white text and it falls underneath this, it's going to create a problem because it'll actually color it for us. We only want the color lookup to affect the layer directly beneath it, not all of the layers. So we only want to affect the original photo. So to do that, all we have to do is hold down the Alt or Option key. On Mac OS, it's the Option key. On Windows, it's the Alt key. And when we hover between the two layers, you will see the cursor change to a square with a down arrow. If we click, you will see that that arrow is now added to this layer, and it's only affecting the layer directly beneath it. And that's really what we want. That way, if we add anything else, it won't affect that. We just want it to affect this photo. Now, with that layer selected, go ahead and hold down Shift and then hit the original photo layer so that they're both highlighted. And then go to the top and go to Layer, and then go down to Group Layers. You can hit Control-G on Windows or Command-G on Mac OS. And it's going to group those together. So this is in a folder. If we click on the drop-down, we'll see the color lookup in the original photo. So we can double-click on the group and just give it a name. So I just called it Original Image Group, and it has our color lookup and our original photo. So now what happens is if I go to the Move tool and make sure that we have Group selected in the options bar, I can move this folder and it'll move everything with it for me. So anything that I put in there, any adjustment layers or any edits that I do, it's all in one place. And now what I can do is I can go ahead and grab this and then move it to these other artboards. Before I do that though, one thing that I want to go ahead and do is pull out some colors out of this photo that we're going to use in the design. So typically, a lot of people always wonder what's the best colors to use. And my personal preference, the best colors are already in your photograph. So pick the colors that you see here. We have these nice dark browns, we have medium browns, light browns, we have kind of these yellow colors and this kind of washed out white color that looks really cool. So there's a lot of great looking colors in this photograph. Let's start by using those. So let's go ahead and pick the color tool in the toolbar. It's this icon right here. It's the eyedropper tool. We're going to select that and then go ahead and pick one of the colors. So I'll just start off with maybe this really dark brown. And if I hold down and move around, you'll see the colors change. Now, right now it's sampling each individual pixel. And we want a little larger sample. We want to make sure that when we're in this area, I'm not landing on, pure black pixels. I want an average of this brown. So to get an average, go up to the top under sample size and select one of these averages, 3x3 pixels, 5x5. These might be a little too high, so let's just pick 5x5. And then when I hold down, what's going to happen is it's going to sample an average of those colors. So the chances of me landing on a perfectly black pixel is a little less. If it's not big enough, we can go ahead and change that, maybe do 11x11 and see how that looks. So I'm going to pick the dark brown color. You can see it was added to my foreground colors. And I want to go ahead and add that color into my swatches so that I can continue to use them. So go ahead and click on swatches and then go down to this button. Create a new swatch of foreground color. We're going to click on that and we're going to give it a name. So we're going to call this dark coffee brown, whatever you want to call it. But it's been added right here into our swatches. And so now that makes it easy for us to pick. So go ahead and pick maybe 4 or 5 different colors out of your image and get those set up. And what I look for is I look for couple dark colors, couple mediums, and a couple light colors. So go ahead and pick those now. Okay, so I went ahead and grabbed 6 colors, I believe, 7 colors, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it added them to the bottom of my swatches. Now these browns were already here, but we just added some more starting with this dark brown color. You can name them whatever you want, it doesn't matter. But the thing is that we have a good starting point. Now we don't have to use these exact colors, but it's a good place to start. So when we begin writing text and adding elements, we can start off with that dark brown. We might find that it's too dark, or maybe it's not dark enough, and you can adjust that. That's fine, but at least we're not just randomly picking colors out of thin air and hoping that they work really well.